Here are 3 reasons why I'm still buying Arcblock's native token called ABT. Reason number 1 is because I like its room for growth. Even though that's not financial advice, I could hypothetically see ABT go into the price of $100 during this bull run. Now, that right there, by the way, is around a 70x from here. So when people like to say, okay, this is not the best hypothetical upside, I get it. It's not a micro cap. But on the flip side, it's not a dinosaur. It's not like a Solana or BNB or like an Ethereum or like, let's say, a Bitcoin, where it can't do over a 20x, for instance, from where they are as of right now during this bull run. I'm not talking about years down the line. Again, let's say in the next 6 months to a year, I don't think it could do that. But even besides that point, when I take a look at ABT again, let's say doing a 70x from here, going to the price of $100, if, for instance, I were to put $1,000 into ABT right now, and let's say again, it were to go to the price of $100, at that point, my $1,000 would theoretically become $70,000, right? So when you think about it, to me at least, it doesn't seem that bad. I get it. It's not going to make anyone a millionaire. Far from it, but a 70x doesn't seem too caca at the end of the day, in my opinion. Now, some people may argue, okay, $100, but that's a little bit too much. That's unrealistic. But I disagree with that, because if you actually take a look at ABT going to the price of $100, considering current circulating supply, at that point, market cap would only be around $10 billion. I mean, could you imagine that? This is around 25% of Shiba Inu's all-time high market cap. Shiba Inu reached around 40 billion. You take a look at even something like Dogecoin, that reached over 80 billion. That's over $70 billion more than this. Again, in terms of all-time high market cap, they achieved this back in 2021. And the reason why I want to use these meme coin examples is because I think in the world of cryptocurrencies, especially as of right now, the standard for projects to reach these insane levels, it doesn't seem that high, at least as of yet, right? Because if you think about it, this space is still, I think, in the beginning stages. I still think there's a ways to go. So as of right now, the standard doesn't seem that high. And if you think about it, again, I'm not saying ABT is going to go to like 50 billion or something crazy like that. Again, let's say go into around a $10 billion market cap, which doesn't seem that crazy to me at all. Yeah, I just don't see why not. It's not that unrealistic. And also on top of that, I do believe that Arcblock is that special of a project. Now, some people may argue, okay, that's not true because Arcblock has very bad fundamentals. It's complete trash. But again, I disagree with that, because this actually brings me to my second point as to why I do believe Arcblock is arguably one of the best projects out there. Even though it's not the coolest, I think the fundamentals are very rock solid. Arcblock at its core is trying to simplify the process of decentralized application and blockchain development. Now, some people may be thinking, okay, who cares about this, right? Who cares about simplifying this process? The reason why this is super necessary, hashtag Jorge Masvidal, is because if you take a look at it traditionally, oftentimes it's been reported that decentralized application development, that's sometimes a little bit difficult. And sometimes the process can be cumbersome and a little bit annoying, at least reported. Not to mention, in other cases, blockchain development, that in some cases can also be argued as something that is very complicated to some people at least. So again, Arcblock understands this and they're like, okay, how can we simplify that? Basically, they work their special, magic, quote unquote, not real magic, of course, but I'm just saying they work their good stuff, so to speak, and they simplify this whole process. And this is how revolutionary Arcblock is. They understand that, hey, there's going to be more decentralized applications that are going to pop up in the future. There's going to be more blockchains. It's only natural. Because, of course, as the space grows moving forward. And they're like, okay, let's find a way to make this process a lot easier. This is the way to take a look at just how amazing Arcblock is. They understand the trajectory of which the space is heading moving forward, and they're trying to help facilitate that in a much easier way. This is how amazing Arcblock is. It's not a project that's going to disappear when the fans and hype are gone, because it's not a meme coin. Also, on top of that, it's not some random trash project that has very bad fundamentals. That's not the case. I think Arcblock is always going to have a very good use case. Is it going to have the number one adoption of all time? I would arguably say no. Is it cool? Again, no. Is it interesting? No, not really, but I think it gets the job done. At least that's the way I view it. And keep in mind, the core of Arcblock is reusable and composable software components called blocklets. Now, why is this special? It's because any application, for instance, on Arcblock, is either made up of a blocklet or is a blocklet. So yeah, I think that's important to take into consideration, especially when wanting to understand just how amazing Arcblock is. But let's not forget as well, it's even been stated that applications on Arcblock can support almost any mainstream blockchain service, including Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and much more. So yeah, that's very impressive. Not to mention as well, Arcblock has an AI kit, which allegedly has been noted to enable any application to have AI capabilities. Now, why is this impressive, in my opinion? Because if you take a look at the AI market, according to Grandview Research, it is predicted to be worth nearly $2 trillion by 2030. So if you think about it, the narrative for AI as of right now is pretty massive. Some of the hype kind of disappeared as of right now, to be honest, but I think better days are ahead. And some people may think, okay, 2030 is ages away at this point. We're just in 2025. How is this going to matter during this bull run? Now, the reason why I think it's going to matter is because people, usually they latch onto narratives. They care about what something could be as opposed to what it already is. Like, for instance, we see many projects out there that never really launch anything. Like, let's say certain metaverse projects, gaming projects that never really deliver on their promise. But then still, they're one of the biggest projects out there. Also, in some cases, they do very well. So, in my opinion, it doesn't really matter in terms of, let's say, oh, Arcblock has this AI kit, but then it's not really going to matter unless it's like 2030. I don't think that's true. I think people oftentimes care about the narrative, and this really does fit into the narrative of, the future of AI, right? Because of course it's focused on AI, and when people care about the future of AI, they'll probably care about this, which is why I think it's going to matter for it during a fully fledged bull run, which I think we could very well see it very soon. Because I think as of right now, hypothetically, we're still in second gear, but once it gets into third, fourth, and fifth, man, the sky's the limit. However, even beyond that, we'll see that Arcblock is also focused on something called decentralized identity. Now, this is a market that's not really flashy or anything like that, but in my opinion, there's some potential there. For instance, this market is predicted to be worth over $100 billion by 2030, yet again, according to Grandview Research, because you know what? They like to predict things, allegedly. But even besides that, if you take a look at Arcblock, it's a project that's very easy to understand, not overly complicated, focus on the right markets. I think this right here is such a no-brainer pick for me. And in terms of fundamentals, it's A+. I think Arcblock really hit the target when it comes to just simplifying what they're all about, because some other projects out there, they're just focused on too much random nonsense. People can't really understand it. That's just a little bit weird in my opinion. Arcblock, again, so easy to understand. It's very simple. So that's why I really love it. And I think fundamentals are A+. And this actually brings me to my third reason as to why I'm still buying ABT. And that is because, as the old saying goes, a high tide raises all ships. Even if you take a look at Charles Hoskinson, a very reputable individual, he's the co-founder of Ethereum and the founder of Cardano. He predicts that in the next 1 to 2 years, based on a video that he was a part of back in November of 2024, because as of right now, of course, we're in 2025. But even besides that, he said that around 1 to 2 years from then, again, he could very well see Bitcoin reaching anywhere between $250,000 all the way up to $500,000, which is insane. I mean, if Bitcoin just, let's say, reaches $250,000 during this bull run, I think that's already more than enough because, of course, as Bitcoin does very well, usually a bunch of good altcoins, they follow along with the ride. But we've seen also in some cases, even the Kaka ones go along. But yeah, besides that point, I think better days are ahead when it comes to ABT. Again, at that point, $100 for ABT may seem a little bit bearish at that point. Now, imagine if, let's say, Bitcoin goes to the price of 300,000, 400,000, which I think is very much on the very optimistic end, but you never know. But let's say, again, just 250,000, man, I think the sky's the limit. Now, it's just a waiting game at this point. No one has a magic crystal ball to tell exactly when ABT is going to peak, but I think sometime in 2025, this could really be amazing. And historically speaking, we know this to hypothetically be the case. Usually, altcoins, as a worst case scenario, they peak around 18 months after a Bitcoin halving event. The last Bitcoin halving event happened back in April, so 18 months from then would actually mean around October of this year in 2025. So again, things could happen in the very near future, or should I say things could look very positive, hypothetically, in the very near future. Now, granted, history doesn't always repeat itself. However, it does tend to rhyme, and it could happen a little bit later, a little bit sooner, who knows? But I think this time around, this could be so special. It's just a waiting game, which is why I'm still dollar cost averaging, holding, and just waiting. Anytime an income, again, acquiring, holding, and just waiting, because according to Crypto.com research, there is currently over 600 million crypto owners. That's more than ever before in history. I think this bull run could be so special. And again, ABT at the price of $100 during this bull run wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. And those are 3 reasons why I'm still buying ABT, Arcblock's native token. And make sure to subscribe if you gain value from this video. I'd greatly appreciate it. It's Mali the Captain, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.